This was the first time that members of the House of Commons officially questioned the British Prime Minister about the kidnapping of more than 200 high school girls in Chibok in the northeast of Nigeria. David Cameron told deputies that Great Britain will help.
And we should be proud of the role we play. Britain stands ready to provide any assistance immediately that we can, working very closely with the US. We already have a British military training team in Nigeria. The Foreign Office has counter-terrorism experts of pure evil.
Great Britain and France are taking the same path as the United States. Following a meeting with the European Union Foreign Affairs officials, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry announced that Washington is sending military personnel to Nigeria. President Barack Obama personally made the decision.
In the short term, our goal obviously is to help the international community and the Nigerian government as a team to do everything we can to recover these young ladies.
Wondrous thing.
On the global level, there has been a net increase in activity to find the kidnapped Nigerian schoolgirls, held for the past 3 weeks by the radical Islamic Boko Haram group. U.S. politicians were demonstrating in front of Congress in Washington.
It is clear that kidnapping these girls challenges the conscience of the world in a very specific and different way.
Nigerian citizens living in the United States have also been active. In front of their embassy in Washington on Tuesday, they were critical of what they called the inefficiency of Nigerian authorities. And in New York, demonstrators called on President Goodluck Jonathan to bring the schoolgirls home or resign. Police in Nigeria are now offering a reward of $300,000 for all information leading to the hostages.
Well, millions of South Africans have been heading to polling stations across the country to elect 400 legislators who will in turn designate a new president. There is widespread disaffection with the country's leadership, but the African National Congress is expected to win more than 60% of the vote. Voter turnout, as we hear in the CFI report, is reportedly high at more than 20,000 polling stations.
Queues at polling stations as South Africans came out in droves to cast their vote in the general election. Over 25 million eligible voters were called on to elect the 400-member National Assembly, which on May 21st will designate the new head of state. President Jacob Zuma's ANC party is widely expected to keep its grip on power. Opinion polls give it 60% support. Zuma appeared relaxed and confident as he voted Wednesday morning.
It feels good that I've just voted, and I hope that all voters will cast their votes free without any problem.
The strongest challenge to the ANC has come from the ultra-leftist EFF, led by Julius Malema. The party wants to nationalize banks and mines and seize white-owned farms, but polls put its support at only 10%.
We've done our work. Now the ball is in the court of South Africans. Let them make a decision.
Although incidents had broken out during the election campaign, voter turnout was high in the country's more than 22,000 polling stations.
I am proud and I feel blessed today. I ask God to give all older people the strength to come out and exercise their right to vote.
Demonstrators had burnt ballot boxes and tents for polling stations on the eve of elections in a Johannesburg township. The action was sparked by anger over municipal services and unemployment. But despite the sluggish economic growth and slew of scandals that have typified President Zuma's term, the ANC's popularity endures. For most South Africans, it is still the symbol of freedom from apartheid.
Well, time now to take our second break. Stay tuned.
Under
the distinguished patronage of His Excellency the President, Sir Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya AJJ Jammeh, the Gambia Radio and Television Services Staff Association is organizing a fundraising gala dinner and dance with the renowned Senegalese superstar Titi. Yes, it's Titi live in the Gambia, courtesy of the Staff Association of the National Broadcaster. Friday, May 23rd, 2014 is the mega gala dinner at the Benjamin Hall, Paradise Suites Hotel, commencing at 8 p.m. Platinum tables, $60,000, diamond tables, $50,000, gold tables, $40,000, and individual tickets, $1,000 only. Saturday, May 24, 2014 is the grand dance at the Paradise Suites Hotel, commencing at 8 p.m. Tickets, $300, VIP, $500 only. Surprise Gambian artists will also perform on both events. Support the Gambia Radio and Television Service Staff Association to ensure enhanced service delivery and make GRTS a world-class national broadcaster and pace-setter in the sub-region. Titi live in the Gambia, courtesy of the GRTS Staff Association.
Welcome back, and over now to sports. Seasoned sport administrator Lamin Sane is among a 5-member committee tasked to run the affairs of the Gambia Football Federation. This development comes after the Minister of Youth and Sports announced the suspension of the President of the Gambia Football Federation, together with his 3 vice presidents. The decision, as Bab Kasengo tells us, was triggered by the recent suspension of the Gambia from all continental competitions by the Federation by the Confederation of African Football.
But the press briefing and its ramifications will be felt as far away as Zurich and in the more immediate surroundings of the football house in Canifing. Such was the scale of the decision to act that the Minister of Youth and Sports, the Permanent Secretary Nancy Nyang, and key personnel of the ministry's satellite institutions converged for the media briefing. When he began to address members of the media, Minister Aliou K. Jammeh wasted little time in his assessment of the current situation in Gambian football.
Now, all of this embedded within Article 40, which talks about the powers of the President. We had expected him to exercise his powers to protect the image of the Gambia, to protect the image of football in the Gambia, to safeguard the provisions of its own constitution. Again, there we found them at fault. And that's why the National Sports Council has no choice but to invoke all these provisions in the National Sports Council Act to suspend, as I say, and I will repeat, these 4 key officers: the President, the 4th Vice President, the 2nd Vice President, and the 3rd Vice President. All other structures of our football remain intact. We don't want to disrupt. We are not going back into any normalization. This is going to be a rectification committee.
Having been here before, the minister was quick to highlight the new road being taken by the ministry, describing the move as a rectification process.
Article 14, Article part 318.2, which has empowered the Minister of Youth and Sports to constitute upon the recommendation of the National Sports Council. We have identified the following people: Mr. Lamin Sane, who is Permanent Secretary number 2 at the Ministry of Local Government and Lands and Regional Administration; Mr. Famara Koli; Mrs. Hadis Hilanjai; Mr. Bajabi; and Mr. Malik Mbaye, for now, the 5-man committee. These members have the freedom to co-opt any person who can add value to their work.
The suspension of the 4 elected officials has all but cleared out any impending hurdle that stands in the way of the ministry in conducting further surgical actions. The Youth and Sports Minister did well to sidestep the issue surrounding the future of the technical director, but all indications point to a swift decision on the future occupant of that portfolio. It was a day when another storyline is added to what has been a very storied period in Gambian football, and when the dust settles on this particular announcement,